No, it's because I'm in my brand new portable bathtub. And presently, steam is sort of billowing out, and I'm smoking a joint with my bathroom window open. Oh, Swim is smoking a joint, not me, or something like that. Anyways, having oh, just yesterday I was thinking to myself, just talk to this as if you were getting paid for the job. All right, we'll just pretend. So, first off, I decided to start my morning. I was doing this a while back, and I kind of fell off the bandwagon. I forgot about it, but I watched a Tony Robbins clip, and he had said that every morning he immediately gets into hot water, and he sits there, and he slowly comes to while in the hot water. I've done it for long periods of time. Actually, I've done it for months on end before, like because it's a, I don't know, it's a what's life? Okay, so you've got two competing things going on in life. One of the things is one part of you is wanting to add to the reproductive or the future of humanity, and another part of you is going to want to be in the present because there's no guaranteed future, and even then, who cares? So, like, the now is more important, but it's always more important because if there's no now, then what's the people in the future? What are they gonna go to? Oh, a bunch of people who can't be in the now for how long? For indefinitely. When the now is the best? Oh, that's stupid then. So then you have to be able to somehow be present in the now and at the same time have some amount of attention on both the supposed past and the supposed future. I see somebody has commented. If you can, please, would you give me like a comment that says that you can hear something I'm saying? Because I've had two videos go up. Satin Wolf, good morning. And Dead Wolf, good morning. If you and I know you have 3 IDs, and I know all 3 of your alternate personalities like to log into my channel when I go live. Thank you so much. Often what happens is as he logs them in, I have 1 person, then 0, then 2 people, then 0, then 3 people. Then I have 3 little thumbs up on the right, and then that's how I know that Dead Wolf's watching. And we've got share deleted. That's also Dead Wolf. So I'm going to add some cold water to the old hot bathtub if you can. Let me know if you hear it. It hits that peak where it's like it's time to add the cold. Right? I know your feckless YouTuber Jeffrey Doherty does the cold one, and Robin the hot day. I'm down to the hot day. I do a cold splash. Okay, so what I do is I try to take like a cold shower at the end of the hot shower or at the end of the bath. But a couple days a week I skip it out of pure known laziness. But the reason why, okay, my theory is that you can be under mind control and you don't even know it unless you do a cold plunge or a little cold shot of water from your shower. That's why people get like they're like, oh, take a cold shower because it'll snap you out of a mood, right? A mild form of possession. So a cold shower or cold water like daily gives you a nervous system reset, but it also like tells you if you get in that cold water and your mood has really setting and you don't like the same people anymore, then it's possible that it wasn't really you that much. Something snapped. It's okay. It was nothing serious. Oh no. Well, so I've come up with this system here with this portable bathtub, and at first I was afraid to order it, and I'm going to tell you why. And now it's almost too cold, I know. I have to adapt to the much colder water. I was afraid to order it at first because I was like, oh, is it going to be high enough? Is the water going to be deep enough? And I looked it up online, and it actually said that it's a couple of inches deeper than a normal bathtub, so I'm actually in a deeper bath than most of you get. Yep, I'm comparing myself to you favorably. I'm assuming you have a shallow bathtub, and I'm rejoicing over my better set of circumstances. Like a batted person who tripped over a can of Warlock beans. An old can of Warlock beans just left in the road. Good thing I didn't fall, though. I noticed it first and I bunted it. What? You're lying now. How do you know I'm lying? How do you know? So, if you're watching this video right now, I want you to do a few tests at home with your own selfie wealthy. First, do you have a cup of hot steam beverage? You're going to be so flummoxed and flummoxled and smake-moodled and things like that when you realize what I'm telling you. Go take your hot beverage. If you can, even step outside with it. Okay? But you don't have to. Now take your little beveragey. And as you're looking at it, I want you to think about other people. Think about the people if you go to church. Think about the people at church. If you go to commune, think about your commune. If you go to cult every day, think about your fellow cult members. Now watch your family, your friends, the YouTubers you like. Watch the steam on your coffee. Now suddenly now kick them all out. Kick them all out and think only of yourself. I have tried this experiment with numerous people, and humans are somehow connected to water, and most humans report when they think about other people, their hot beverage steams profusely. Like the steam starts just everywhere. But when they only think of themselves, the steam stops immediately. I'm not making this shit up. Just like Joe Dispenza will tell you, you can control the traffic with your mind on the highway. I'm telling you now, it's not on your own. You have to have, some people use music. You don't have to use music. You have to involve the other people in the road, whether they think they're involved or not. Like little colors of light that connect, and imagine they're all part of a big show. And if you do it, what will happen is the traffic will start to all drive at like a perfect speed with perfect following distance, like perfectly driving drones, and there will not be any road incidences. Lil Wayne has it described in one of his rap songs. He said a female policeman pulled him over. He describes an astral event with a female on the highway. It's very much the same as what Joe Dispenza is talking about, and also what I'm describing. So the steam thing is also real. So if you're able to convincingly think about other people, it will cause an increase in steam from any kind of like hot beverage, especially if there is a temperature differential between the outside and the inside more. Even your own breath. Okay, if you're outside in the cold, frigid air and you think of other people, your breath will form more steam than if you imagine you're alone. I know, isn't that amazing? Okay, so another one. Imagine how clouds are formed. The appearance of clouds in your multiverse. So that's why they say there's some great cloud of witnesses watching you. What's the cloud? What's in the cloud? Humans are made of water. What about clouds without water? Let's light another joint. It's the little plastic cap on the joint. It's connected, but I always leave my tongue in front because I have this little fear, like, what if it wasn't connected and it tried to snap back in my mouth, and then I had to do this whole thing and blah, blah, and we don't want that to happen. So what drove me to this YouTube channel this morning, usually something upsets me. Then I come here. I was scooting around the Drudge Report this morning, and I noticed an article, then an ad. Let's see. Good morning. All three of me. I see some commentary. Then let's see what we got here. So here we are. I made it. Here I am. I'm from SB are deleted. I'm doing the best I can. I'm here, all three of me. Good morning. Guyana CR. We got Dead Wolf. Yep, I got to do this today.
I'm trying to read the other ones. A sticker showed up, and I'm trying to get around it, and I can't read your other comments right now. Hold on. Good. Good morning. Okay. Good morning. Said hi. They all stay at 65 miles per hour behind my semi truck. I don't remember the context right now. It'll come to me. It will make sense soon. So the bathroom's almost full. The book I'm reading right now. So this morning I'm reading the Drudge Report, and I get to the bottom of the article, and somehow I think it was like a pop up for another news article on. It was a terrible story. All of their grandmothers and all of their cousins. You ever heard the story of Achan, the Bible? He hid some gold from a town he wasn't supposed to take any from. And so Joshua's like, go stone Achan and his family, but get every fucking last one of his family, his friends, every fucking person who knew these pieces of shit. Not one of their posterity will pass on, so that the echo in the human genetics says, like, this is so serious, you do shit like this, your whole family's extinguished, you ugly fucking motherfucking pieces of shit. And then sometimes you think to yourself, like, oh no, a kind of terror be upon them worse than what they visited upon the girl. I don't care about fairness. Imagine all the females that are minors turn into goddamn men, and you're going to be tortured and extinguished at the pleasure and orgasm astrally of people everywhere. All you goddamn pieces of shit, disease is going to ravage your goddamn ugly bodies. Your family's a female, and you're all going to die. Hallelujah, hallelujah. In the by and by, who gives a fuck? Hallelujah, hallelujah. That's how I feel. That's what that whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing was about, you know. It was people of Sodom and Gomorrah. You notice when Lot tried to offer his 2 daughters, they were like, we don't want your daughters. We're not virgin daughters. But boy, they supposed angels. If you dig into it, those 2 angels were pimps. They were actual fucking pimps. They were the real pimps. The spirit of discipleship, which passes by the impartation of spirit from one disciple to the next in a chain of, whether it's voodoo warriors or Christian disciples, whoever it is, if you got some pimp in the background that you passing on the pimp, it is the spirit of the pimp. Now, if you're not part of the pimp, Christianity is voodoo. What do you think? They eat blood and drink blood. They eat flesh and drink blood, and there's yearly practices and all this shit they do. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Santa Maria, when they were practicing Ifa in Africa, and they took it to South America, they were brought over by slaves, they found that all of the saints and all of the little deities of the Catholics already fit the Ifa / what we call voodoo religion, so they just adapted it so that Santeria, we don't have to pretend, we don't have to stop practicing in any way, shape, or form. So discipleship is an impartation of spirit. So there's this pimp spirit that's passed down through people, and that pimp spirit fucking showed up to deliver Lot, the pimp spirit that traffics kids, man, children, and chilling. And those little pimps showed up in fucking Sodom and Gomorrah because Abraham was like, Lot's still a pimp at heart. Go get him. And so they went to go fetch Pimple out of Sodom and Gomorrah because, the old white witch, like in the C.S. Lewis book, was going to turn everyone into stone in a few minutes for having beaver parties with fucking Edmund, who is a type of Lot. And then basically he goes like, hey, I'll give you guys my virgin daughters. And they're like, no, we don't want to rape your fucking virgin daughters, bro. We want your fucking pimp deities that got caught in a human form so they can't escape with their fucking spirit because they was on a mission from God now, they thought, or whoever their little fucking... And so now that they're trapped in these bodies, we're going to take the pimp spirit down in levels and fucking destroy them. Like, it's like 2 particles fucking interacting at a spooky distance. We're gonna get their relatives in outer space and fucking get them all in a time travel worse than your fucking Space worms on Dune, you're gonna wish you fell into one of those babies, sucker. This is why the Rock Lobster episode of Star Trek shows that the team with Abraham Lincoln was far more evil than the team with Genghis Khan. Pimp your fucking ass out. We're gonna pimp the pimp. See, that's the whole point. You stop pimping the kids, you stop pimping the children and the women. Survival of the cowards. Who goes after women and children but cowards? They ain't trying to fight after full-grown men because they know they lose. So who's gonna go get them? Who's gonna go get them? Who's gonna go? And it's not some guy up in Hollywood. I'm not talking about Russian political establishment. Every one of you has 10 family members, right? A couple of points of connection. And within your 10 family members, I guarantee you got a couple of, at least 1 or 2 pimps in your own family. Don't go after someone else's fucking family, Tim. You don't know the inside story. Like, you know how they put them in the clowns and those like boots? You know those boots the clowns sit in and people like throw shit at them? Go get them, dress them up fancy, put them in a booth like that, and have the neighborhood pay to fucking humiliate him. And have them do it too, and make a business out of it. So that the little chitlins are going out there and throwing tomatoes at his face or something. I don't know. Taking turns pretending to chop his junk off. Using him as a human fucking thing to beat up on. One of those little things that they, pad him up real good. I don't know. Or don't. Pimp him out. Leave him for 41 days with these fucks. Let them do whatever they want. Don't let him die. Plague. There's a short version, a medium version, and a long version. Which one do you want? And David's like, you choose, because I'm not. They're all bad. I'm not going to be the one to choose which one is worse. And so God says, take the quick one, right? Which means the slow one's far worse. Now, psychologists will tell you the same thing. A chronic, sudden thing ain't that bad, but a long, ongoing thing, real problem. You got to go find your own family members who think they're king of the roost and start pimping them out to the villagers. It's either them or you. They're going to pimp out your kids if you don't. It's either guard your kids, guard your wife, or go pimp out the motherfucking pimps. ABC ain't no fucking thing to be holding in some kind of high esteem. Oh, second test. We're going to return to the ABCs in a minute. Because they're not as natural as you think. They just sound natural to you. ABC easy as 1, 2, 3. ABC is not 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is H, L, H. 1, 2, 3. Can you count? H, L, H. Now the Masoretics, they don't go ABC, they go ABG. Aleph, Bet, Gimel. So what they say in their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s, when they learn their language, they learn that they get a gift at the number 3, and the gift is to rob to be part of a line of cowards who rob from the vulnerable and then put a picture of it on their stupid Ark of the Not Covenant. But if you're in Christianity and you live in the Western world, you say ABC because the third letter, the C, is actually a calf, which is it looks like a C backwards, and it stands for no fault of their own. It's not because they're a bad person, a good person. It's because they fell down on their luck. You're going to take fucking advantage of them. And so if you get that, the calf, it means you're being taken advantage of just because of where you were born. And you better learn to accept it. That's what it means in Western world. If you're taught the Masoretic dialect from word go, it means you're taught to take advantage of others. If you're taught the ABCs from the word go, you're taught to take advantage of. Does that make sense to you? The first 3 letters of your alphabet reveal what it is the people within your special group are being requested or required to do. The first 3 steps. I said HLM. We don't go ABC. A is not our first letter. H is. Now the H in some versions it is. Any letter can technically be the first one. In a more special version or less special version, they're all recipes in a fucking book. And they just tried to get you to be loyal to one recipe so that you would be a cook in their kitchen. So you would be a baker and a fucking perfumer and not a fucking alchemist. Because people try to tell you, if you watch these manifestation videos, Manifest with Jasmine and others, they're going to tell you being a king or a queen or god or goddess, man, this is the highest thing, the best thing you could be. Oh, you're the only god. You know who else thought he was the only god? Yaldabaoth. That's right. A fucking bastard creation by Sophia because she masturbated that bastard into existence. I mean, you think you're the only god, you're living in a la la land, right? But then once you realize it's a perspective you can have, you can decide what you want to do with it, but don't make it any more true or less true. It means when you think of your supposed fakey god, it's just like playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and nothing else. And so the H is the hay in Masoretic. It's an H in English. In Paleo, it is the picture of a man with his arms up to heaven. In the area of the high desert in the Joshua Tree area, they have a tree called the Joshua Tree, named after Joshua himself from the Bible, because when early Christians saw that these trees looked like men with their arms stretched out to heaven, and also, may I add, I look just like the Paleo letter H. The position that Joshua was the position that Joshua Tree is in. If you look at the Paleo letter, it looks like a tree with its arms in the sky, or a man with its arms in the sky, and that's what this tree looks like. So the letter He it means behold. So like if you were looking at a sunset or anything, you behold, you put your arms up, right? Even the neuro-linguistic programmers will tell you, like Dr. Lloyd Snyder will tell you that when you raise your hands in the air, like in a praise position, or even with your both fists up, that your physiology alters and your thought process starts to alter with it because of the emotional and physiological changes that go along with it, if I'm saying it correctly. So with that being said, it also often has a reference to churchy like functions, because you've taken something and you put it in a form externally that can be beheld. So it can also refer to observing the pomp and circumstance in a church, in an organization, or it can refer to a natural something in a tribe, something in nature, but you're beholding something. Okay, so something is being beheld. That's the number 5. So if you put the number 5 in the first position, it's actually can now have the number 1, even though also it's associated with a number. Just because it's a number 5 doesn't mean that it doesn't get a position. So a lot of people don't get that. You can rearrange the positions. So to give you an example, you could say a hay has a number 5 attribute because it's like a man, and a man has 5 points, right? The head, the arms, and the legs. So you're like, okay, so that's a man. A man with his arms up, beholding something. That is the number 5, and that is the letter H. Whenever you put it in the first position, whatever is being put in the first position is what you're processing to pull the energy out of. Because look at the way we eat. When we eat, we go out there, we get a piece of fruit, we put it in our mouth, we chew it up, we process it, we digest it, we break it down, and we consume it, right? Because this is a predatory world. Every little bite of consumption, even if it's a cucumber, is every bit as predatory as a bite of meat. And convincing yourself otherwise, I think, is ludicrous. They have some tests that show that vegetables suffer the whole time you're eating them. Don't worry that they psychically suffer the whole time. There is nothing intrinsically less predatory about an herbivore. They're just preying on something different. So with that being said, Whatever's put in the first position is what is being processed. So if you throw the hey in the first position rather than the aleph, see, the aleph represents, they call it the fool. The aleph represents a bull, yes, but it represents a fool. So a person who's born filled with trust and a baby, essentially. So you shouldn't put a baby as they're born with trust and call them a fool and put them in the first position and process them like the Masoretics and the English do. Rather, my mom would say shoulda shit. But I feel a liken because if it's a recipe list, some people like Russian tea cakes more than they like peanut butter cookies. Well, I like the idea of putting the letter H in the first position and taking the man who's beholding things and just throwing him in the processing machine. Because in both the English and the Masoretic, they put the baby, the fool, the aleph in the processing machine first and then get their energy out of that. That's why they're both based on human trafficking. So if we turn around and we put the man, the beholding man in the first position, you're talking about doing what they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah, but getting away with it. Our kids, got our wives, or go find your uncle in Square. Whichever one you want. Each person can only handle their own family. So the only person who need to be concerned would be your family that you're listening. Not some people in Hollywood, not some elite you never met. You don't know what's going on there. You're guessing. Go look at your own family. You know what's going on there. Let the neighborhood chitlins pay to throw oranges at his nose. I don't know. Demonstrate hot dog boilings and cook-offs. I don't know. But so the one you put in the first position is the one being processed. The one in the second position, in the case of ABCs, you see they put the aleph, which represents small children, into the first position, into the processing machine, into the spelling, and then dispensing everything that's inside. So the first three letters are a story of robbery against the weakest individuals in society in both the Masoretic and the English language. If you change the beginning script to start with HLH or hey, lam, and hey, you have a different recipe. You throw the man in, you throw Joshua in, you throw the church in, you throw the pimp in. Process him up. Turn him into a goad and have him go after more of his own kind. It'll take care of itself, and from there you go straight into a man. Oh! That's that whole movie. I think it's called King's Crown. It's Juliet, not Lewis, but Moore, the redhead, and she's got whole men she throws into the meat grinder. They're trying to demonstrate the second alphabet, another form, which Korah himself was discussing with Moses. Korah was saying, can't all the people be holy? Let's throw the pimps in. And of course, and the pimps everywhere were horrified and frightened. What? Dude, you thought he was going to get away with some 41 days of torture. Oh no, what if the earth went for longer than that? What if we did some kind of a Clockwork Orange Ludwig technique on their minds and turned them into the worst mind control victims that anyone has ever seen? And then we'll somehow what we'll do is we'll cross dimensions. We'll steal the spice melange, and stop virgin sacrifice. We'll use it for time travel and everything, and to do and open holes in our universe, and we'll never have to actually do any of the things. Oh, that makes them the center of the end. No, it doesn't. What does center even mean? Where did you come up with this idea is like up and down? Anyways. You ever seen The Matrix? Okay, so in The Matrix, they knock the sheep out and the pimps are like running the scenes, right? But what if you, in The Matrix, they're always just trying to get free. Guard the kids, guard the wives, guard the kids, guard the wives. But the reason why they're always saying it is because they never go after the pimps, right? But what if they went and they got all the Matrix people and they put them in a Matrix and started to experiment on them? What? Well, ideally, usually when you would have rivaling kingdoms, you each hold a hostage from the other side. Why is it only one side has a hostage? What kind of game is this? Oh, it's survival of the cowards. Don't forget, there's no shame here. Oh, I'm sorry. Mm-mm. I'm in a bathtub, but I don't actually feel like bathing. Have you ever had that experience where you get all the way in the bath? I am a very clean person, but I just feel like only sitting here. I'm digressing. Anyways. Mm-mm. You know, right before Jeffrey, I'm gonna give you guys a little gossip this morning, a little secret gossip. Right before Jeffrey went off of YouTube, I don't know if it's the last thing that he did, but the last thing that I had seen, because I had like stopped watching his channel for a while, and then I came back when he was on Roku. Now he's back on YouTube under the what is it called now? Something real gospel truth. He had a girlfriend that reminded me of. Have you watched Spinal Tap? So she was like a YouTuber in her own right, okay? And I don't know where she is. If I knew where she was, I would probably go watch her channel, actually. Not to gossip about it. She's really cute. She looks like she's about 5'2" and 110 pounds, maybe. And like very energetic, short hair, cute, big eyes, short brown hair, super, super cute, big eyes, hot, but really energetic. And if you ever watched Spinal Tap, the girlfriend of the lead singer for Spinal Tap, he has a girlfriend, and she makes them like dress in like huge astrological signs, and she makes them get like super spiritual and do all this stuff. Like she has a really strong effect on him, and she kind of like becomes almost like his manager and fires his manager, I think, almost tries to, and then like band breaks up, and he and Nigel get in a breakup over it, and he can't even like talk to some of his friends, and he starts to get like cold sores and stuff, and he's no longer playing at big venues, but like in the prison and at the Holiday Inn. And I'm not saying that she did any of these things to him, but the movie is very interesting, and I will say that there is some parallels. There's a little bit parallels. Jeffrey would be the blonde singer in Spinal Tap, although I often in my imagination station also play that blonde singer, so you have no corner market on his character. But met her on Monday. 'Twas my lucky Monday. The lover each weekday, each velvety cheek day. Anyways, so the girlfriend came along, and I remember it was like watching like what I imagined if you were on a small ship. Like say like you knew, like say like let's just pretend for a minute that the Titanic didn't hit an iceberg. Okay. Maybe it did, but let's just pretend for a minute that's a huge conspiracy. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. You're person off to the side and you're in a boat and you're watching the Titanic because you somehow in pretend imagination station land knew it was going to sink. So you got way out there so that you wouldn't get pulled in the undertow. By the way, you're probably going to die cold and alone out on the ocean. Don't they come and try to rescue the people? And some of them lived on rafts or something like that for a couple days. Maybe you'll make it. I don't know. So you're a little ways off. Are you going to let people in the boat when they start going down? Are you going to be afraid that they throw you out? Are you going to not take your chances and watch them slowly drown? I'm just questioning you right now. Okay, so the boat's going to go down in an hour or two, because what kind of person would take the boat out an hour or two before the boat goes down just to watch the Titanic? And then you're watching the Titanic as it sinks, and you know it's going to sink, okay? So at first, it's going to look like it's going to stay afloat. Every time it takes a blow, a little part of you is going to think that boat is going to stay afloat. There is so many miles of abyss and ocean below that boat, awaiting the souls of those little humans that sit upon the decks and in their little beds, sinking in the metal on the ship, just living there at the bottom of the ocean and the abyss. And every time it takes a hit, at first it's just going to be a little thing. And everybody's going to be sleeping peacefully and no one's even going to notice. Maybe a light will flicker. But before long, the boat will start to toss and turn and heave. And eventually it will capitulate and completely go under. And as every last sign of that boat disappears, A, B, C, easiest 1, 2, 3. A, B, G, G, B, C, you and me, baby. No, just kidding. Cancel that. There goes the ship. Bye-bye, gone. We're watching the ABCs and the ABGs go down with the Titanic to the bottom of the abyss while we laugh. We're not even laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Is it because I'm a better person? Yeah, it's because I have different preferences. I mean, everybody thinks they're a better person. The nature of having a preference is to think that you're a better person. I don't believe that. The nature of preferences is to believe that you're a better person. Thank you. That may be true. Stop the presses. Rewrite the article. Come back. Secretary, return. Come back. Don't take that one off. The nature of preferences is the intrinsic belief that you are better. You're better for you, right? You're your own little point of consciousness, but are you better for someone else? And if in order to reach your needs, you must, by need, ignore every other fundamental thing about another person in order to create a version of them that you can put on a pedestal, only so that you can create this huge drama of extraditing yourself from the person, while the person playing the part is a small infant or someone who can't get away and has no desire to play the part with you. Oh, please. Everybody's like, but they want to play the part. No, they don't. Do you want to get turned into hamburger? I don't think they wanted to play the part. You know what my mom used to say? Ever since I was a small child, she would say something similar to what John Lennon said. Remember what John Lennon said? life coaches will tell you things like, they'll say stuff like you're the god of your own universe. Your reality only loves you and thinks you're the best. And it's like, really? Are you a Yelda Bale? What's going on here? That's very strange. Other people will tell you life is what happens. Think about it for a minute. My bath was so fabulous and I liked it so much that I might have overfilled it a little bit. Now I don't know how I'm going to drain it, and the shape of the bathtub has changed greatly from what it first was, and it looks like some of the plastic poles may be bending. I have to do a little problem solving. Hold on. But I have a joint in my mouth and it's making me reticent. Okay, we're going to go in here again. We're going to try to assert our will against this bathtub. We don't know. They are may not work. It doesn't, it's really like a I did a little math earlier. I feel like if I start to do a little draining, it will make its way out. The draining cannot be too fast though, so as to avoid flooding. Yesterday I flooded my house a little bit. Just a little. No, it wasn't really a flood. Stop it. It's not that bad. It will drain. We're just verifying that the water will in fact Okay, I will possibly get out of the bath and show you a picture of what happened here. But wow, I have a lot of water to play in. I can tell you that right now. There's a lot of water. Deep thoughts. Smoke the joints in a time of peace. Two in time of war. Smoke the joints until my lighter doesn't work no more. Okay. Alrighty. Well, it's like there's two sets of rules that people are going by. It's like one part of humanity, approximately a fifth of them, is going by a rule called like hunt the humans, where their belief is that whatever acts of cowardice they can get away with to exploit other people, other humans, is considered capitalism. While another group of people is being told that do unto others as you do unto you. Don't do anything to anyone else that you wouldn't have done to yourself. Another group of people has no concept of what that even means. And so the two people are given two different sets of rules so that to make one group of people easy pickings for the other crew. And it's on purpose. So like, have you ever sat in church and gotten super frustrated? Because you hear the pastor saying something and it's like, you know that he doesn't listen to this himself. You've watched his personal life. None of this advice does he take himself. Further, like he wouldn't take it himself. Okay? But he's dispensing it to other people. As if it's right. It's the right thing to do. Knowing that he doesn't think that those rules apply to him. knowing that. Just not thinking about it too directly, I suppose, in front of people so they don't pick up on your thoughts. I don't know what they do. I'm just guessing. So, like, because 1/5 of people, according to the Stanford Baby Study, are wired to take advantage of other people and to enjoy it, and not only to show an in-group preference, but to like bullying the other group, but not their own little segment. And so what I find interesting about that is it carries through to adulthood, because the CIA book author, Andrew Bustamante, says that the same thing is true. They teach you that in the CIA. Look for the 1 out of 5 who separated from societal consequences and structures could really be dangerous. And so when you get like, so when you think of things like the that book, oh, what is it called? Island of the Flies or Lord of the Flies or something, like there's an island of boys that get stuck there. But there's a real life story where some Filipino boys actually really did get stuck on an island for a while, and they had an opposite occurrence to the one in the story. And the people were like, well, what if it's because the story is not true? I don't think it's because the story is not true. I think it's because in society, they're consistently putting one group of people at the helm, right? So like when you're out there in the city, people are going to go along with the strongest leader. That's what the Stanley Milgram study says. That's what the Tipping Point of Society study says. So if they had a handful of kids and the strongest leader was tribal and moral, and the situation happened, they got dumped on an island, then they would have a really ethical, resolutions that people would feel really comfortable with from that standpoint. But if you dropped another handful of boys off and you put those with the strongest leadership as those who were the most immoral, you would have a different set of situations that would transpire. It's because of the group of boys that were dropped off. But in society, we don't get like just different groups of boys dropped off, because we have a world political economy with an economical kingpin of the most vulnerable people being exploited by those who don't give a shit. You hear the fire trucks in the background? It's because I'm telling the truth. Truthish. The bathroom's still raining. Yes. Uh-oh. No. Uh-oh. We don't want any standing water. If it's like I have to slow down the drain, how fast it drains. I did this yesterday. The method, because I'm in a shower and the drain spout is covered, is a little bit complicated. I shan't lie to you. It means that I have to like put a microfiber cloth in the hole where the water drains, so that it has a way out that's nice and slow. So there is, and then you have to put like a shampoo bottle leading from the side of the bathtub going under to the drain so that the water can reach the drain. So that's the main issue when you have a portable bathtub, if this was a sales commercial, is just make sure that you have a way to drain the water. If I was ever going to go full tilt boogie and really plan to do the bathtub responsibly, I think that I would, I've many times thought about getting a PVC pipe to put underneath the bathtub towards the drain that's connected to the little tube that goes from the other drain, so that it will just drain straight down and it'll be an easy drain. And it probably would be like a tiny investment. In fact, I might even have a little tube in my backyard I could use for something like that. Yeah, but then you have to cut it. I don't know how to do that. Oh, I was thinking I have an old curtain rod out there that's hollow on the inside. I could break it, but then what if it poked the pool? You break your portable bath in a second. Don't sneeze. Okay, I sneezed anyway. Yep. Because the curtain rod would break the pool. Let's just stay with the shampoo bottles until we decide that we want to go to a Home Depot kind of place and cut one pipe down a little bit. It would require a whole trip in the store, a new area at Home Depot that we never go to, and finding out if they will cut pipes for you before you buy it. If they make you cut it yourself, you're gonna have to just look for a little tube. It's too complicated otherwise. If I ever moved into a school bus, I've been thinking about this. I've been watching people who have converted buses and stuff, and it's like, it looks like a dream life in a lot of ways. But one of the things about it that I find particularly troubling is that if you don't have a bathtub, you're not gonna feel okay. I don't care what you tell yourself, you're not gonna feel okay. Any place that you're at, if you have a bathtub, you are living at the top notch of life. It doesn't matter what kind of slum you're living in, or a car, or a house, or a mansion, or outside. If you are in a decent bathtub with hot water, you are just fine. You are at the top of living it as good as you can. Especially if the water doesn't have excessive chemicals. Go ahead and throw a little Epsom salt in there, baking soda, a little salt if you want. Make it like, try to recreate the ocean if you feel like it. Do what you want, but I'm just saying, like, look at, the water drain, thankfully. We're gonna allow another cycle of draining again, but not much. Last time things got a little crazy. So yeah. Yep. Well, I had a time. My mom and my dad died, my favorite uncle died, and one of my children had a fentanyl overdose. So I had a whole bunch of kids die. No, kids. I couldn't call my parents kids. That must have been the parentification talking. So I had like a favorite uncle, dad, mom, kicked the old bucket recently, supposedly, and then my son Philip as well. So I had a time where I kind of had a I don't know, like, I've never been suicidal in my life, and I'm still not. I never have been, but I felt like kind of angry at everybody. I still get it. I still get angry, and when I get PTSD, I can get angry with people sometimes too. It's not like the anger stops, you know what I mean? But it's what's the difference between doing it that way and doing it the other way? We're observing. I've got a drainage plan going right now. Okay, we got that. It may take a little minute, but we're not going to be concerned. The important thing is it's safely comported out of the bathtub. So, what are we talking about? I know. I bought this castor oil shampoo and conditioner at the store. But unfortunately, one of the bottles may have gotten lost underneath the, I know. You know what? Some people avoid news stories that upset them. I heard that. Because they're like, I create my own reality, I'm a yell to bail. This can't possibly be going on. Or I don't know what maybe they just don't care. They're like, who knows what they're thinking? I don't know. I'm not sure. At any rate, I know. I know, sometimes I wonder if the hey, lamed hey mem means throw the yell to bayoffs in the meat machine. Start making yell to bayoff burger. Hey! What? What? This castor oil shampoo, whenever I put it in my hair, I feel like my hair feels weird. Like it doesn't feel normal. The texture of it is somehow not normal. I don't know. storing the virtues in my bathtub. Because of the way my portable bathtub is set up in my shower, the shower step has turned into a lovely step for my head so that I can lay on my back with my feet in the air and without straining my neck. My hair is submerged in the magnesium salt bath. How often do you really, we all get the Epsom salt on our body to pull the toxins out and relax, but how often do we really get it in our brain and our scalp? And that's probably where we need it, along with our feet and our hands a lot, And so here we are. Oh, Chris in the morning. I've been watching Northern Exposure, and also, as mentioned yesterday, I started watching Northern Disclosure. Well, the reason why I even discovered that there was a Northern Disclosure channel is because I was watching Northern Exposure, and I was on Christmas Day, I was trying to watch all the Christmas episodes, but I really only watched 2 or 3 of this season's Christmas episodes that day. I think I may have watched one the night before. Yes, Northern Exposure, the Christmas episodes land on like the 15th to 17th episode typically in the season. There's at least 6 seasons. And the last season, the doctor was gone. When I realized this a little after Christmas, I was like, what the fuck? Why is there another doctor? And then I started thinking about it and I was like, you know what? So when they first, I had seen some problems. So I wanted to look up and see why he left and what he was doing. And that's how I found Northern Disclosure. So Joel Fleshman, what happened? I was watching it and originally they showed him a certain way and he had an evil twin. He had a character that was his evil twin. And the evil twin character had certain mannerisms and ways he acted. And I was watching it and I was like, it's almost like they were trying to turn his character to get more and more shallow, to become more of a parody like the evil twin, than to develop into because the actor was playing the character like he had a ability to have deeper, more meaningful friendships, and he should have been there for the last episode, right? But the writers were consistently, like, it looked like the writers were turning him into, either he or the writers or someone was turning him into a guy with a bad attitude who didn't have the ability that was just like a parody and was not able to become more like loving towards people or whatever. I don't know, like a little more deep. And so he would the character would seem like he was going to get a little more deep and then they'd make him more shallow again. And so I was like, I wonder why he's not here. I knew something was festering though when I was watching seasons 4 and 5 back, like when you're watching Christmas episodes, you see there's some change in the seasons. Like there seems to be something going on here. And then he's not there in the 6th. And I was like, okay. So I looked it up and lo and behold, supposedly the actor didn't like the fact that they weren't letting the character develop. Which I was like, I saw that. I actually really noticed that. And I will tell you that when I watched Joker, before I ever watched the people explain it from behind the scenes, when the actress was really scared, I could tell that she was actually scared. Like I can tell certain things, I could tell certain things when I watch stuff, and then later on if I watch usually there will be something like that being said by the actors or someone involved in it afterwards, if I watch something like some kind of, after the fact Sunday morning quarterbacking kind of stuff. So then I was like, okay, he's gone. And so then I went to Northern Disclosure and I found both Janine Turner and the guy in Northern Exposure, Moros, were both, I forget his first name, that they were both there. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I started watching and I saw, oh, they have Marilyn. Marilyn shows up. Yep, good old Marilyn. And so I was like, oh, cool, trippy. Yep. Watching it. No, because before the reverse Shadow in Time, I didn't watch Northern Exposure all the time, but I would watch it sometimes. So the shows that I would watch are like Little House on the Prairie, Bonanza, Northern Exposure, X-Files, Twin Peaks. Those certain shows, My So-Called Life, and you know what came afterwards, but I still like it, is The Sopranos. I really like The Sopranos. I do. It's I really do enjoy that show. Garfield, you know what? After watching James Garfield in The Sopranos, I've had an introject when I watch it regularly. I have an introject of James Garfield that pretty much comes around with me everywhere, and his perspective on women is so fucking beautiful. In my version of James Garfield has a perspective. My version of James Garfield. I don't know what your introject of James Garfield is like, but mine is has a really don't have English words for it perspective on women. It's quite luxe. So does the vampire Lestat. There's a reason why when I was like a teenager and married with, I was talking to my therapist about this. For the record, I go to therapy twice a week. I do. I check in with a doctor periodically. I go to therapy twice a week. Usually. Sometimes I only do it once a week. Typically twice a week. So we were talking about, my therapist and I were talking about The Sopranos. And swimming your therapist. We're talking about The Sopranos. One of the things is it starts off with James Garfield's character looking through the legs of this green statue. And the green statue is supposed to be, the rabbis say Esther had green skin. It's supposed to be Esther. So when he goes into his spiel and he's talking about how he's, people built this foundation before he came. And, when you're at the start of something, you feel like there's somewhere to go with it at the foundations. But when you just come in at the top, there's really nowhere to go. And essentially, he's having an existential and a moral and ethical crisis because he didn't realize the human trafficking that was going on behind the scenes. And now he does. And that's the Esther revelation. They don't come out and say it directly, but it's implicit in the green statue, in my opinion. Then you have, and so he's like in a gang essentially, right? But he's realizing that the gang has been operating according to certain things, and he came in after they've already done all this. And so it makes him feel ambitionless, and he shows up to not ambitionless, but he waffles. So he does kind of get ambitionless, quite frankly. I mean, like he starts to show up at dinner in his bathrobe after not taking a shower, and he starts to kind of like fall apart. He's passing out during anxiety attacks and shit like that. And Tony's having a real crisis. So essentially, like the show, I don't even know how long I've been in this bath now. I was planning on getting some food grade silicone to put another lining on the bathtub, just to make sure that there's a minimization of any endocrine disruptors. Although I don't believe they're having an effect on me because I noticed that some of the people who have the best health get minor exposures to stuff and then they don't have anything happen because of it. Not like crazy stuff, but one of the ladies I know who lived the longest would drink the water out of the tap in San Francisco all the time, even when it had been freshly yellow. And she was really healthy. She lived a really long life. And a lady I know who always drank bottled water just died young recently. And I was like, I don't really, so I do cautious things, but I don't do them. I try to do them only not so much, just to an extent, because people who eat health foods sometimes are the most unhealthy people. And people who obsess, sometimes things happen. It's like some of the most healthy people have drank out of gutters and when they were kids just for fun, and then who knows what else, whether it was for fun or not, I don't even know. But yeah, so it's funny. Okay. I don't know. I wonder about that stuff too. Everybody else. Yeah, you don't even have to go out and commit a crime. If you're gonna go round up your own family, you don't have to go out there and commit a crime. You just go sit and meditate and visualize it, and keep doing it every day. And after about a year or two, it'll all happen. Usually that's how it goes. So, let's see. When you play in water, do you ever feel like Smeagol? Like in the Lord of the Rings? You know how he's like, when he gets in water, he's like, well, everybody knows that's what Smeagol does. When Smeagol gets in the water, he's like, woo, from Lord of the Rings. I know, the soul parts. Okay, so Tim Fletcher actually has a lot of good work out there. And he is a Christian, but he puts the workouts within a secular perspective. And then he tells people, like, if you are not Christian, you don't have to watch the rest, just log off and don't. And then he just only gears the last part of his videos for Christians. And he warns people so they can leave first. Which I like. And so that way he puts out the helpful information for everybody, and then he gears like the last part. He'll be like, and this is where we can say like scripture coincides with these like scientific kind of like different things and stuff, or the Bible does or whatever. But all the stuff so far that he's done is pretty scientifically sound. I really like it. So Tim Fletcher's like, I think he's a psychologist, and what he explains is that it's kind of like the Richard or Robert Schwartz thing, where there's an internal family parts system in everybody. Because if it's like in Julian Jaynes' theory, before the bicameral mind, when we had the bicameral mind, people were able to be seen and regulated as children, and to grow up into people who had a God part of the mind, and communication between parts and between the right and left hemisphere. But after the emergence of the singular consciousness and the temporary, you should say like the spiritual vibe was changed, and then that's how some people would see it, but really it would be the two hemispheres not really talking and having that kind of clear communication, and that communication with the God part of the brain the same way anymore in most people, whereas they used to all have it. That's why Korah was saying to Moses, like, shouldn't all the people hear from God? Shouldn't they all be godly? And Moses was like, no, it's just me now. We're just doing this like narcissistic emergence of the singular consciousness right now. This is our new direction, in essence, which there's no right or wrong to it. See, because people just assume that Moses is right. But see, you're living in a world of right and wrong. And as soon as you live in the world of right and wrong, you're living in a world of lies. There's what I like and what I don't like. And there's what you like and what you don't like. And in order to have a preference, you have to believe you're better than someone else. Is it better, or is it better? Well, what do you mean by that? So if we all come from a singular consciousness and time doesn't exist, then the same exact singular consciousness that plays your part also plays my part. It also plays the parts of the bugs and the trees and everything else, right? And there's really no time. It's just that time is there so that the consciousness can interact with the consciousness while it's in separate, distinct individual forms. Having the one being in the time and the other being in the time so that the consciousness can interact with itself. I smell cigar smoke in the air, and I am not smoking a cigar. I've been smelling it in the air. I'm gonna go take my lighter because my joint went out, and I'm gonna set it on my space heater for a minute. Everybody's like, that's so dangerous. Just for a minute. I'm not gonna put it directly in a part where it will explode in flames. I'll just put it like over it because I can't light my joint now, and I'm not ready to get out of the bathtub. And you know, we all face trials in our lives, and this is one of mine. I'm just kidding. So Gnosis was like, no, we want to have a Molech between our right and left hemisphere, and we want the emergence of singular consciousness and hierarchies to advance and to have kings that will come out of it and all this other shit. And boy, didn't he just bow to Jethro, his father-in-law. Moses didn't think like that before. What happened, I don't think he was thinking like that the way that they depict. I don't know what happened to Moses. I think that he got possessed by leadership and he was destroyed. I think he's a type of a person to show you that even if a decent person is put in power, that ultimate power ultimately corrupts, and that just like the book An Army of Enablers says, power actually changes your physiology and turns you into a different person. A person you wouldn't want to know. So survival at any cost isn't survival if you're surviving as a person that you wouldn't want to know. I was talking to my therapist about this. I was like, if somebody told you could live for 1,000 years, but you had to live, and this isn't going to really happen to you, but just as a pretend thing, I was like, but you had to live 940 of them as Al Bundy from Married with Children. You would say, forget it. I don't want your 1,000 years. It's not worth anything. In fact, deleting everything in existence might be better. And yet you have whole entire tribes of MGTOWs. Now, I get why some of them have some points of view, okay? But other ones are completely off their rockers. They're just entertaining it. What are we doing now, self? Oh, we were going to take the lighter out. And we were going to heat the bath up more. I feel like it's draining, but it's kind of cold. And the drainage is so slow right now. I mean, it's really at the drainage level is like not going fast. Let's speed it up a tiny bit, but not too much. It is. This is the tricky part of taking a bath in your shower. You actually have to stay nearby because if you don't, it's possible that your shower could get overflowed with water. So like if we lived in a normal society, or not normal, I mean, what's normal? We would identify people who are narcissists in school, and we would separate them, and we would learn how to identify them and how to interact with them without getting hurt, instead of trying to train them how to act like decoys and how to act normal when they're never going to be normal. Learn how to torture Molechs. I got no regard for your religions. If it functions in a city, then the proof is in the pudding. Need I say more? If it functions in the city, it's the same as any business. If the mayor loves you, you're just another bonus. Okay, so here we go. What are we doing? Two things. Crazy land. song like that to torment one of my kids.
When my kids were, okay, I gotta tell you something funny. One of my parts.
When my children were small, I used to have them, there's a song that's like, I'll say yes, Lord, yes. When your spirit speaks to me with my whole heart, I'll agree, and my answer will be yes, Lord, yes. Well, when my kids were little, I changed all the lyrics. No, I would put Mom in the position of Lord at every spot. I'll say yes, Mom, yes, to your will and to your way. I'll say yes, Mom, yes. I will trust you and obey. When your mom voice speaks to me, with our whole hearts we'll agree. And our answer will be yes, Mom, yes. We'll say yes, Mom, yes. Anyways, one of my kids, whenever I would make them sing that, he would protest. That's blasphemy! You're not Jesus! I won't sing it! He did, and he did commit suicide though. I will tell you that. He died of a fentanyl overdose. I'm not saying it's because he protested my song, but I don't know what to say about it. I will trust you and obey. When your mom voice speaks with me, with our whole hearts will agree. And our answer will be yes, Mom, yes. One time, because I didn't want to go to no jail for hitting my kid. But one time when my son, the one who ended up killing himself, was like 14 years old, like 6 years before he died. My bath is much warmer now. He was acting super bad, and I didn't want to get in trouble because he'd been going to therapy, and I didn't want him to say like, "Oh, she's beating me up." So what I did is I visualized another version of him right in front of him. So I visualized that he was in front of me, even though he was across the room. And then I reached out with my hand and I slapped the other version of him across the face while it couldn't move or stop me. And he stood there as if he watched it in his mind's eye, and he said, "That's way worse than if you really hit me." That's what he said. And I was like, "Good, go tell your therapist. Like, what are you going to say?" I was rude to her, so she slapped the air in front of her. Okay, try sending me to jail for that one. Yeah. He was crying. He was like, "That's worse." I didn't want to do it. I only did it to give him a punishment because I got tired of dealing with the troubles, man. He was giving me so many problems, and I had to find a tricky way to discipline him. He was brewing Pruno in the garage and in the yard. So the reason why my son who killed himself ran away when he was 15 is because it started off as a series of things. One time I had him in the car, and this is another story altogether. Let's go back to that one later. So I had been feeling like something was happening with him. He was bipolar, and he'd been like one of those people who was diagnosed with bipolar, but they called it something else, conduct disorder when he was a kid. And he's pretty wild. And so I was just feeling like something was going on. And he was spending a lot of time talking to this gamer online who had a YouTube channel or a TikTok, and the channel was called, I don't even know what the channel's called, but the guy's name, if it will come back to me, Abhishek. So he was talking to this guy named Abhishek, and it was like when a child or when a person's been converted to a religion and they just start bringing up Jesus all the time or bringing up some guru or something, you're like, who's this guy? Well, in this case, it was Abhishek. So he was like Abishak. And then the next thing you know, I was just feeling like something was going on with him and he was acting more wild and I didn't know. And I went in his room one morning and I smelled Listerine really strong everywhere. And I was like, this is really weird. And then I smelled, like, I went to find the Listerine smell and smelled the Listerine smell, and there was a smell of alcohol. And I was like, oh my God, I think he's been drinking. And I found, like, later, I found, like, vomit, like an old pile of vomit outside the house and stuff like that. So he was vomiting and throwing up. And it turned out that Abishak had given him a recipe for Pruno. And he'd been making Pruno. He was going to his dad's house. He was getting some kind of like yeast that his dad had for making wine, and at his dad's house, like stealing some of it. But before that, he did it without the yeast packets, with regular yeast. And my cranberry juice had been disappearing. And so he had been taking my cranberry juice and going out in the yard in the garage, and he was 14 and he'd been brewing his own Pruno. And so what he was doing is, with his bipolar, he was like self-treating with alcohol without me knowing. And the way he was doing it was pretty brilliant. I have to tell you, later on, he tested to get into the Navy, and they said that in the high desert, and they said he tested higher than anyone else who'd taken the test for intelligence, like since they had been testing people in the high desert. He'd had the single highest score. And they put him straight in the nuclear division. But he was too emotionally unstable, and they kicked him out because they said that he was bipolar and he didn't tell them, which was actually true. That's as far as I know. That's why they kicked him out. Because he tried to hide the fact that he was bipolar when they put him in, and they figured it out once he was in there. And so, but he was brilliantly smart. So he was making Pruno in the yard, and he would go to bed at night, and I guess what he did is he woke up at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, and he would start drinking. And he would get really drunk every morning, really early in the morning. Or no. He told me what, no, I take it back. No. He would stay awake until everyone was asleep between like midnight and 3. And when he thought everyone was asleep, he would start drinking. And he would drink until he said about 5 a.m, all alone. And then he would pass out drunk. And that's why I couldn't get him up. I was having a hard time getting him up for school in the morning because he was like in a charter school. So he didn't have to be up until like 8:30. He didn't have to get up by crack of dawn, but usually he would get up like more like 7. But if there's something going on or something, if he had been up for some reason late, if there was something, but I was trying to get him up in the morning, and come 9 o'clock, I was like having to drag him out of bed. And he was 14, and I was like, what is going on here? And finally I found that he'd been like boozing it up for a couple of months. And I guess like if the bacteria had been wrong or anything, he could have gotten sick and died even, is what I heard, or gone blind, or any number of things for making Pruno. But he made it the right way. He's pretty smart. None of that ever happened. And when I found out about his alcohol making, I started to monitor my cranberry juice, obviously. But the main thing I did is that when he went to his dad's house, he would take I started catching him with 2 liters of Pruno in his backpack. And when I caught him with one, I say catching, I caught him with one. And when I caught him with it, he panicked. Like if he was going to go to his dad's without the Pruno, I think he got to the point of drinking where he drank every day in secrecy. And when I discovered it, and he wasn't going to be able to drink for an entire weekend because his dad had his private alcohol stash locked up, he didn't even want to go. So he wasn't if he wasn't able to drink, he wasn't going to go. He'd already become like a little alkie in just a short time from getting a Pruno recipe from Abishak, a gamer on YouTube. And so basically I'll put Philip has some comedy. He did political videos. I'll put his channel up underneath if you want to see his channel sometime. But he I call him Phil Pup, Philly Puppy. He's got a lot of nicknames. But basically he was Prunoing it up. And when I found out and I started to really restrict his access to alcohol, he ended up running away from home. And then he went back to his dad's. And I was really concerned because his dad had more kids in the house, and his dad never really, although he locks his alcohol up, he wouldn't monitor Philip as closely overall. So like if Philip escaped from the house and was gone for like 10 hours and then snuck back in his room, his dad probably wouldn't even notice. Like if you're in your bed for the night, he's not gonna go check and see if you're actually there. You know what I mean? There's like little differences in surveillance, I guess you'd say. So I was concerned, and Philip was going to choose the place that had the least surveillance to continue his drinking, because once I figured out he was drinking, I became a harder place to drink. And so he ran away from home and I woke up one morning and it was like that Rigsby letter. Ellen, no, it's not Rigsby that canceled that. It's the I'm thinking of the Beatles, the one where they have the daughter and she runs away from home and they like always loved her and she just like thinks like she just wants to get away from them and she doesn't care. It's kind of like a narrative dialogue song. And so he runs away from home and he goes to his dad's house, which he ended up overdosing and dying at his dad's house in the trailer on the side of his dad's house 5 years later. But not before he overdosed a few times while under his dad's watching. His dad and I don't get along the greatest. And we don't not get along, we just don't talk anymore. Because we just don't, like, I don't, how can I put this? There's just nothing to talk about. There never was. We wouldn't, one thing I noticed, because I was in a cult, one thing I noticed is that all the people who were married before they joined the cult, or who were friends before they joined a cult, when they left the cult, you're married to someone and join the cult. If you manage to get out of the cult, there's a decent chance you'll still have the friendship. You may have it. I'm still friends with my best friend from when I was like 20 years old all the way through. Like I still know her. She's a psychologist. Well, no, she has her master's in psychology. I don't know, but she's a therapist. But like, if you knew somebody before you were in a cult, so much in schools and church, right? Their marriage was so good that it kind of made, they were amongst the couples that made the other couples in the cult suspicious, because their marriage, they never like thought there was no signs of external abuse. Had little arguments. It was like the little kind of tiffs people get in over like minor stuff, but like overall they got into minor tiffs, maybe like minor non-insulting tiffs more often, but they didn't get into huge blowouts, and overall they really liked each other. And with these particular couples, they had a dynamic that the couples in church that wouldn't even have a tiff over, like, oh, you put the spoon in the wrong spot. Like, it's not like they talked badly about each other, but if you were at their house long enough, you see that they got into little tiffs that blew over all the time, but their overarching relationship was good. And psychologists will tell you that too. Like, if you lost steam, minor steam in your marriage regularly, like in little ways without being disrespectful, those couples tend to make it longer. People who don't fight don't stay together, someone ends up killing someone, things don't go well. And so the marriages don't last, or something goes wrong. And so your best bet is to get out of there. And if you don't, it could go sideways. You know what I'm saying? Like, so all marriages, I watched people leave the fellowship, leave the cult that I was in. And the people in the fellowship used to say, like, if you got married in this church, then this church blessed you with that marriage, and that God blessed you before they were ever in a cult. Their marriages, if they survived a cult, they were still together afterwards, a lot of them. Amazingly. But the ones that were not together, the people who would have never dated or never been together if it hadn't been for the cult and being arranged into a marriage, those stuff would fall to shit. Think about it this way. In the cult, they're still together, and I think they didn't believe in Hollywood. To to stay married while one loved Hollywood and one didn't. If one truly left the Hollywood cult, one of them. Somebody said the dynamic in their marriage would intensify suddenly. You might be right. I don't know. They'd seem suddenly unattainable to each other in bizarre ways. Oh, why are we creating this fake romance for them right now? Okay, this happened. For instance, one of my personality parts had a big festivities party. It's all in my not in real life. It was something I did in a movie theater in my imagination. It was before and I was like, oh, put these together and see what happened. No, but somehow I was in on that. I knew about it. Some part of me was, because I thought they were Orlando Bloom. That's who it was. Or who it is, sorry. I know. This water smells like the pool has a plastic liner. I'm not worried about it because there's Epsom salt in here, but taurine beverages like a rock star or something like that with the sugar and everything, just so that I can use my bathtub with the plastic lining until the silicone grade or food grade silicone lining arrives that I can use to off gas my mattress and line my portable bathtub. Although, like I said, the lady I know who lived the longest was like throw caution to the winds. I've seen people very healthy who just, I know a guy who moved to India and went on a fruit diet and playing the drums for money and just for fruit. And he's a precious little Spanish guy. I think his dad is Spanish and his mom is identifies as Jewish. He is non-religious, and he identifies with the two different religions. He identifies with Santeria, like voodoo, and then he also has a lot of affinities for the Indian religions, like Hinduism and stuff like that. And so he went out to that area of the world where Hinduism and stuff is, because sometimes when people find out about the Como land and the child molestation and Hollywood and everything else, they have like a breakdown. And little Steven, and he had a breakdown and he decided to leave California and he went out to India and played the drums and lived on the streets, much to his mother's chagrin. Until he got hospitalized, and he could have died in the hospital, I think. He got very sick, he said. He got super sick, and he said all the gurus would tell you that most people can live off fruit for months and their body will just purify and get healthy, but that's not what happened to him. He had diabetes, and he'd never had it before, and he got diabetes, and he had to get shipped back to America for medical treatment and to recover. He eventually recovered, but he's kind of like, how people who recover, sometimes they live longer than normal people. People don't ever talk about this, but like if you watch Little House on the Prairie, if you were to read the books, you'd find out that Laura's, one of her younger sisters, of course, when they got scarlet fever, Mary went blind, but the younger sister, I believe it was Carrie, got very thin and skinny and sickly, and then Laura said she remained somewhat sickly for the rest of her life. But the part about that's funny is that she lived longer than most of the members of the family. She lived a very, very long life. It's just that she was a little bit weak all the time, but not unhealthy. So how there's some people who could be weak but healthy at the same time. Like Raceland from the Dragonlance novels. So Carrie, Laura's little sister, had that happen to her. She lived a pretty long life, actually. And she didn't have any major illnesses again, but she just was a little bit like, I don't want to say faint, but almost a little faint. like for the rest of her life, just a little, not weak, but kind of, so to say that some people, sometimes if they catch something, it doesn't change their lifespan. It will change their general stamina in regards to regular everyday activities. Like, so what were we talking about? What did that have to do with? Carrie, Laura, HLHM, Tony Robbins, girlfriend of Jeffrey Doherty. It'll come back to me. You hear my ocean sounds. There's seagulls and dolphins, and even sometimes you'll hear a dolphin like, and I'm thinking like, where am I that you would hear dolphins where you also hear the beach crashing? Well, I'm saying it's representing and then making couples up in your mind and then seeing it in real life. And who knows if you were just remote viewing it, or if you had a finger in it, or if it was like with prayer where that universe already existed, you just aligned yourself with it, or did you tap into the person who actually does do that, or are you kind of like that, or were you used? What does it mean? I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's why I said, if you decide to go after someone, go after the people in your own family who you know are doing things, and then don't do it outside in public, because that will get you arrested. Start to get your journaling notebook out like a mad scientist and sit there and visualize and be like, Uncle so-and-so got locked up and put into prison. And like at first you're going to feel a sense of doubt, and you're going to think that's you doubting yourself. But it's not. It's because humans are psychically connected. It's the interject of you back when we were talking about this a minute ago. So say like somebody sees me and they're like, I get this vibe like they want to be like, oh, I'm prettier than you, or something like that. Or conversely, some people will want you to try to go along with this vibe like, you're prettier than me. Either one it is, it's not true. Okay, so let's get down to the Elizabeth Taylor of it. She said herself that all women are made from the same parts. They're just being figured in a different arrangement in each woman. We all come from the same mitochondrial Eve. All the women are made from the same parts. And they all just have those parts rearranged in a different order. You either like it or you don't. And so the idea of beauty being like a narrow laser beam that shines on a small group of people and then excludes the rest it's just ridiculous. Obviously, if they're all made from the same parts in different arrangements, and it's all the same consciousness lighting all of it up, it's all each color what is it that Jim Morrison said? He said he called women in his American Prayer album that was done posthumously, obviously, so he wrote it before, but he said, women, monsters of flesh, each color connects to create the boat which rocks the race. Can any hell be more horrible than now in the real? I touched her thigh and Death smiled. Death, old friend, Death and my cock are the world. Can you forgive your injuries in the name of wisdom, luxury, romance? Sentence upon sentence, our healing lament for the death of his cock spirit has no meaning in the soft fire. Words got him the wound and will get him well, if he believes it. I'll join now, lament for the death of his cock spirit has no meaning in the soft fire. That's Jim Morrison. Reach in your head with the cold, sudden fury of a divine messenger. TV death, which the child absorbs. Death well mystery, which makes me write. Slow train, the death of his cock gives life. Can you forgive the poor old people who gave you injury? Taught to God, the child's prayer in the night. The movie will begin in 5 moments, the mindless voice announced. All those unseated will await the next show. They filed slowly and languidly into the hall. The auditorium was both vast and silent. As they seated and were darkened, the voice continued. Program this evening is not new. You've seen this entertainment both through and through. You've seen your birth, your life, your death. You might recall all the rest. Did you have a good world? Enough to base a movie on? He said he's getting out of here. Where are you going to go? To the other side of morning? Please don't chase the clouds, pagodas. Her cut gripped him like a warm, friendly hand. Sorry, all your friends are here. When can I meet them? I'm not hungry anymore. There are women eating. Silvery stream, silvery dream. Ooh, impossible. In a dance show, they gave out 3 records to the best couple. Stay back, polished chrome, and it came this summer like liquid night. The DJ had a big car. Yeah, so it's good to watch The Sopranos because even if you just do it in passing, you might end up with an interject of James Garfield following you around for the day. Just in the imagination station, fellas.